Bluey is so incredible that it ended up influencing the entire kids animation industry, and that's just a fact. But did you know that because of that, the Australian series has several copycats? Chip-Chilla. Yep, a lot of studios want to create a kids cartoon that becomes as big as Bluey, and some believe the easiest way to do that is simply copying the Australian show. That's exactly what happened with Chip-Chilla, a US cartoon released in 2023 that quickly became very famous, but for all the wrong reasons. Do we even have to explain why? Just look at any screenshot from the show and you'll get it. Chip-Chilla's visual identity is basically the same as Bluey's. Seriously, if you removed the characters and left only the background, anyone looking at it would think the scene was from Bluey. That's how extreme it is. It doesn't help that the house where the main characters live looks almost identical to the Healer family home, not just in animation style, but also in colors and furniture. Even the characters look similar. The main family isn't made of dogs but chinchillas, yet most of the characters still mimic the roles of the Healer family members, with Chip obviously being Bluey's counterpart. Not even the color changed, since both of them are blue. If it were just the visuals, fine. If it were just the visuals and the characters, not great, but maybe acceptable. The problem is that Chip-Chilla copied the Blue Pups show in absolutely every way possible. Even the plot's full of lessons and heartfelt moments that Bluey is known for, just without the same level of quality. And the worst part? The pilot episode of Chip-Chilla was completely different, with an art style that actually had its own personality, but something along the way made the whole series change just to look like Bluey. Was it a demand from the executives thinking the show would only succeed if it resembled a famous one? The big issue is that this American copy is basically a downgraded version, as if someone tried to recreate Bluey without understanding what makes the Australian show so beloved. And this is only one of the 8 bizarre Bluey copycats you never knew existed. Stay tuned because another awesome Cinewave is already on. Ping and Roar. The Adventures of Ping and Roar is another show that quickly caught the attention of Bluey fans because of some suspicious similarities. It also debuted in 2023 and follows the lives of 2 families, one made up of Roar, a T-Rex and his dad, and the other made up of Ping, a unicorn and her mom. Since they're neighbors, the kids are always playing together. Just like Chip-Chilla, this show's visuals look a lot like the Australian hit. Bright sunny vibes, super blue skies. The gardens and houses also follow very similar patterns. The main characters follow a similar structure to Bluey too. 2 kids constantly going on imaginary adventures with amazing parents who often join in on the pretend play. At least the creators were a bit more creative here, making the main family actually 2 neighbor families who have a great relationship. Another cool difference is that magic actually exists in Ping and Roar. While in Bluey, magic is something mysterious that may or may not be just the kids' imagination. So yes, Ping and Roar is definitely very similar to Bluey, but it also has its own original elements, almost like how Bluey is very similar to Peppa Pig in inspiration, yet has enough originality to stand on its own. And many people consider it way better than the Little Pig show, by the way. Hopefully Ping and Roar keeps going in that direction. A cute show that uses Bluey as inspiration without just being a clone. Tiny Tales. Tiny Tales, also known as Kunschichter, is a similar case, where the similarities with Bluey are undeniable. Yet the show still manages to have its own charm and qualities, even if many people still see it as a copy. This kids cartoon from Kazakhstan, released in 2023, features a trio of dog sisters, 2 of them having the exact same colors as Bluey and Bingo, blue and orange. Yep, sisters, dogs, little kids, 2 of them matching the main characters of a certain Australian show. It's almost like they're not even trying to hide the inspiration. But to be fair, the 3rd sister is green, which adds a small twist. Still, that's not enough to stop the show from being labeled Kazakhstan's Bluey. But honestly, that doesn't have to be an insult. Tiny Tales gained a lot of fans even outside its home country, thanks to its charm, cuteness, and the way it teaches valuable lessons in a subtle and emotional way, showing that the production team behind the series truly understood what makes Bluey good, and managed to apply that to the show they were creating. Even some of Bluey's secondary elements were brought over, but in a cool way. While the Australian cartoon makes tons of references to Australian culture and iconic places, Tiny Tales does the same with Kazakhstan, which is actually really interesting. Because it allows people who aren't from there to learn more about the country's culture. If you're also shocked by these Bluey copycats, drop a comment below saying #copies. Granny. We've talked positively about some Bluey copycats, but there are others so bizarre they don't deserve any praise at all. In the case of Granny, things get so creepy that even Chip Chilla starts to look good in comparison. The reason is that Granny isn't exactly a show that copies Bluey, it's a show that literally pretended to be Bluey. Episodes were uploaded to YouTube with the intention of tricking kids and other Bluey fans into believing they were watching the real Blue Dog show. But soon enough, extremely strange and disturbing things started happening in the episodes, traumatizing anyone who watched them.
To give you an idea, Granny isn't even an official name. It's a nickname people gave the series because most of the fake episodes featured a Bluey-like character that was green. This is one of those cases where the copycat has absolutely no redeeming qualities, being nothing more than a very bad taste joke. It's no surprise that most of these fake episodes were reported and removed from YouTube, since they were similar enough to violate Bluey's copyright. And because they contained inappropriate content for kids while pretending to be part of a children's show, YouTube had more than enough reason to take those videos down. Pikwik Pack. Pikwik Pack is a very interesting case. The cartoon itself isn't exactly a Bluey copy, since its premise is totally different. While Bluey has episodes about the blue pup playing with her sister and parents, Pikwik Pack is about a group of friends making deliveries around their town. Nothing alike, right? However, there's one tiny detail that changes everything. One of the main characters, Axel, has a design that looks a lot like Bluey's. Both are a light shade of blue and have big markings around their eyes that make them look like masks. The biggest difference is that Axel is a raccoon while Bluey is a dog. But changing that single detail would make him so similar to his likely inspiration that it would be nearly impossible to avoid accusations of plagiarism. But honestly, that didn't help much, because we very likely figured out the truth anyway. What do you think? Do you think it'll take long before people start to notice the similarities? Or do you think we just ruined the creator's strategy by pointing out Axel's design? Don't worry, the show is actually pretty fun and manages to stand on its own. Blue's Clues. Blue's Clues is another funny example, just like Pikwik Pack. If you've never watched the show, it's easy to see it as a copy of Bluey. It's a series that replaces the little blue healer with a blue dog that doesn't talk and adds a human host played by a live-action actor. But that's not really the case. After all, Blue's Clues is much older, airing way back in the 90s. In fact, it makes much more sense to think that Bluey copied, or was inspired by, this show, since Blue is also a little blue dog just like the one who gives the classic series its name. And Blue also has her name as the title of her show. Okay, so why is this even on the list? Well, Blue's Clues didn't copy the Australian series, but it might have returned because of Bluey. The show went a long time without new episodes and only got a reboot season in 2019, about 1 year after Bluey premiered. A little suspicious to say the least. Out of all the possible years, the classic show about a blue dog named Blue just happened to come back right after a new show about a blue dog named Bluey launched. Did someone involved in the project think it made sense, believing that people searching for Bluey online might end up stumbling across Blue's Clues episodes because of the name similarity? If so, they were right, because that's already happened to a lot of people. So, have you clicked subscribe yet? If not, do it now, and stay tuned with us in every video. Eleanor Wonders Why. There's another show similar to Tiny Tales, in the sense that it takes inspiration from Bluey in the right way. Its name is Eleanor Wonders Why. It's about a little bunny who, as you can imagine, is extremely curious, encouraging kids to look for answers to the questions they don't understand. It works in a way very similar to how Bluey inspires creativity and curiosity, just adapted differently so the series can feel a bit more original. Even so, the inspiration is there, especially in the storytelling aspect, since Eleanor grows and evolves a little bit more with every episode. That's something uncommon in most kids' cartoons, which usually avoid letting time pass so they can keep every character in a permanent, immature state. And remember how Bluey is one of the rare exceptions to that rule? Exactly. It's amazing to see how the cartoon we all love is able to inspire other children's shows to be better than the average. Chip and Potato. To wrap this up, let's talk about Chip and Potato, another series so similar to Bluey that it doesn't even bother changing the species of the main character. The protagonist's name is Chip,
And she's also a dog, the difference being that she's a pug instead of a healer. But the rest is pretty similar, to the point where you could easily see this show as a Bluey spin-off following a family of pugs, even though that's obviously not the case, since both cartoons exist in completely different universes. The show isn't anything offensive like Granny, but it also isn't a masterpiece like Bluey. Chip and Potato is, well, just another animated show about an animal family among many others that follow that style, a style that already existed long before Bluey, but became even more popular after its release.
This was just the beginning, because there are 2 more super fun videos on the screen. Click and keep going with us!